Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Junatira Banachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. It's in my pocket.
Yeah, it's fine. It's on.
It's in my pocket. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari Shodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, Chapter 3, The Birth of Lord Krishna. Today's verse will be 14. Pravishta Iva Vavyase Saeva Swapakrityedam Shrishtvagre Trigunatmakam Tad Anutang Yapa Pravrishta Tad Anutang Yap Pravrishta Pravishta Iva Bhavyase. Word for word, Sa, He, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eva, indeed. Swaprakritya, by your personal energy. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Idam, this material world, Shishtva, after creating, Agre, in the beginning, Triguna Atmakam, made of the three modes of energy, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Guna, Tat Anu, thereafter, Tvam, your lordship, He, indeed, Apavrushta, although you did not enter, Pravishta Iva, you appear to have entered. Bhavyase, are so understood. My Lord, you are the my Lord, you are the same person who in the beginning created this material world by his personal external energy. After the creation of this world of three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, you appear to have entered it, although in fact you have not. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.4, the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly explains, Bhumir apo and lovayu hamvano bhutir evacha ahankara ityame na prakritir ashtada. This material world of three modes of nature, sattva, guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna, is a composition of earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all of which are energies coming from Krishna. Yet Krishna, being always transcendental, is aloof from this material world. Those who are not in pure knowledge think that Krishna is a product of matter and that his body is material like ours. Avajananti mam mudha. In fact, however, Krishna is always aloof from this material world. In the Vedic literature, we find the creation described in relationship to Mahavishnu, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 535, Ekopyasau rachaditum jagadanda kotim, yashakti rasti jagadanda chaya yadantaha, andantarasta paramanu chayantarastang, govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, the original personality of Godhead. By his partial plenary expansion as Mahavishnu, he enters into material nature. Then he enters every universe as Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, and he enters all the elements, including every atom of matter, as Shiradakshayi Vishnu. Such manifestations of cosmic creation are innumerable, both in the universes and in the individual atoms. Govinda is partially exhibited as Antaryami, Supersoul, who enters this material world, Andantarasta, and who is also within the atom. The Brahma Samhita 548 further says, Yashyayika nishvasita kalamatavalamphya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanata Vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vihesho govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This verse describes Mahavishnu as a plenary expansion of Krishna. Mahavishnu lies in the causal ocean, and when he exhales, millions of Brahmandas, or universes, come from the pores of his body. Then when Mahavishnu inhales, all these Brahmandas disappear. Thus, the millions of Brahmandas, controlled by the Brahmas, and other demigods come and go in this material world through the breathing of Mahavishnu. Foolish persons think that when Krishna appears as the son of Vasudeva, he is limited like an ordinary child. But Vasudeva was aware that although the Lord had appeared as his son, the Lord had not entered Devaki's womb and then come out. Rather, the Lord was always there. The Supreme Lord is all-pervading, present within and without. Pravishta iva bhavyase. He only seemed to have entered the womb of Devaki and to have now appeared as Vasudeva's child. The expression of this knowledge by Vasudeva indicates that Vasudeva knew how these events took place. Vasudeva was certainly a devotee of the Lord in full knowledge, and we must learn from devotees like him. Bhagavad Gita 4:34 therefore recommends tadvidhi pranipatena preprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. Self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you, because he has seen the truth. Vasudeva begot the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet he was in full knowledge of how the Supreme Lord appears and disappears. He was therefore Tattvadarshi, a seer of the truth, because he personally saw how the Supreme Absolute Truth appeared as his son. Vasudeva was not in ignorance, thinking that because the Supreme Godhead had appeared as his son, the Lord had become limited. The Lord is unlimitedly existing and all-pervading, inside and outside. Thus, there is no question of his appearance or disappearance. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, to all of the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpataruscha kripasinabhevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Vasudeva is speaking, and these are prayers that he's making. He and Devaki made prayers to Krishna when he first appeared in Mathura. And sa eva swa prakritya idam shishtva agre tri guna atmakam tat anutvam I pravishta eva bhavyase. This is a verse which is a parallel with many other verses we find in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and elsewhere. For instance, Tadejati, Tanaijati, Tadure, Tadvantike, Tarantarasya Sarvasya, Taru Sarvasya Bhayata. The Lord is far away, but is very near as well. He's within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. Or Maya Tatamidam Sarvam Jagadavyakta Murtinam Stani Sarvabhutani Matstani Tupadaraya. Krishna gives these mystical verses at the beginning of the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he talks about how he's within everything, yet he's outside of everything. He directly manifests the entire material creation, yet he maintains his separate existence. This is his great opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gajendra, in his prayers to the Lord, says that no one can really identify you perfectly because you're not in any category. And Rukmini, when she was offering her rebuttal to Krishna's criticisms of himself, when Krishna had told Rukmini once to see if he could get her to become angry at him, because Rukmini's demeanor was that she didn't become angry like Satyabhama did. Satyabhama would become envious and outraged when others got something she didn't, and Krishna wanted to see the same kind of jealous anger within Rukmini. He had told her that, why'd you marry me anyway? I'm really not qualified. I don't have anything. I'm destitute, was one of the points he made. He went on with 10 or 12 ways of disparaging himself and saying that she shouldn't have married him, should have married the Shishupal and become wealthy and happy and so forth, somebody qualified. Well, Rukmini didn't become angry, rather she fainted at such a suggestion. But when she came back to her normal consciousness, she's so intelligent. One after another, she refuted his arguments. So one of his arguments was that he didn't have anything, that he was a kinchana. kinshana means something, and akinshana means I don't have anything. And Rukmini said, well, nobody can say you have anything because you are everything. If somebody who has everything, you say you have something, then that means there's some things you don't have. So that's why you're a kinshana, is because you are everything, and therefore there's no possibility of having anything. And Krishna's way of coming to this world and acting as a human being is what Kunti Devi says is vidambanam. It's quite bewildering because he appears as a human, and Jaiti Jana Nivaso Devaki Janmavaru comes and walks as a human being, apparently like everybody else in the material world. And people, according to their qualification, can understand more or less of who he is. Itam satam brahma sukana bhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena mayashitanam naradarakena sakam vrijarukrita punya punjaha was Shukadeva Goswami's statement to Parikshit Maharaj in the pastime of Agasura, when Parikshit Maharaj was in wonderment about how it was that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the origin of creation, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was here playing with cowherd boys, and they were wrestling, and the cowherd boys would sometimes defeat Krishna. And Shukadeva answered, Itam satam brahma sukana bhutya. According to their qualifications, some people, they only see Krishna as Brahman, because he has various features. That Vadanti tat tatvavidas tatvam yajganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. Sutta Goswami says the absolute truth is advaya gyan tattva. It's one thing. It's advaya. It's not divided. There's only one, but there's variety within the oneness. There was a variety in three categories. There's Brahman, as mentioned here, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But some people, they only have Sukriti for understanding Brahman. So they think God is ultimately an amorphous light, the energy of the Lord. And then there's some, says Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena. Some have a disposition seeing Krishna as God. So they worship him ceremonially in Vaikuntha with solemn hymns and prayers. And when Gopakumar comes to Vaikuntha on his circuitous route to coming to Goloka Vrindavan, where he belongs because he's a cowherd boy, he stops there, and when he sees the Lord of Vaikuntha with 4 arms, he actually sees Gopal with a flute. And in fact, Krishna, feeling the bhava of Gopakumar there in Vaikuntha, is finding it hard to maintain 4 arms because he's controlled by the love of his devotees. In any case, Gopakumar, amidst the pageantry in Vaikuntha, they're like, "Hey, Gopal!" And everyone's like, "What are you doing?" Dasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena. They say, "Oh, this is the Paradevata. He's the Supreme Personality of God, and he's God. Don't think, what are you doing here?" Narada pulled him aside and said, "Yeah, don't worry, you don't belong here. You're going a different place." And then Mayashitanam Naradarakena. Those who are in Maya, as Prabhupada has given here, Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suitesha Characharam. Those who are in illusion, they're covered by Maya. They have no adhikari to see anything about Krishna. They just think it is what it is. Material nature is just my home. This 6-pack of beer is my favorite drink, and I go to work. That's all I do. Mayashitanam Naradarakena. Ordinary people, they're illusioned by the material covering, so they don't see anything. They don't see God in anything. They just work and have a little hooch later and drink beer. So they're an illusion. But Sakamvrajaru Krita Punya Punja, those who have accumulated Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, the benefit of association with pure devotees. And then develop the qualification to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, he says, Krita Punya Punjaha. They have so much devotional credit, they're able to play with Krishna as cowherd boys, as if they're equals. And so in this verse, we're getting an overview of the ways in which Krishna expands as in the Mangalacharana of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a description, Maya Janda Bharta Sangashrayanga Shete Shakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yashai Kamsha Shri Pumana Adi Devas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Mayati Te Vyapi Vaikunta Loke Gunaishvarya Shri Chaturvyuha Madhye Rupam Yasyeha Tato Palabhyam. There's a way in which Kaviraj Goswami begins the Chaitanya Charitamrita explaining how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he talks about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands. And just as the first expansion of Krishna is Balaram, then from Balaram comes the Chaturvyuha, then Mula Sankarshan, then the second Chaturvyuha, and then there's Mahavishnu, who lies on the Karna ocean, and it's Mahavishnu's glancing at the material nature that stimulates it with the time, energy, and the three modes of material nature. And the Pradhan, which is in a neutral state, then becomes energized. And then Garbhadakshay Vishnu enters within each one of the manifested universes. And then from Garbhadakshay Vishnu comes Brahma from the lotus stem. And then the Lord expands again, Shirdakshay Vishnu. And as Prabhupada quotes here, Yachchakshir Esha Shavita Savaka. Sakalagrahanam Rajasa Masta Suramuti Rashesha Teja Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakra Govindamadi Purusha. He enters within every atom and within the heart of every living being. And so what Vasudeva is saying here, because although apparently the Lord is appearing as his son, it's doesn't make complete logical sense, because in Mathura, the Lord appears as Vasudeva Krishna with 4 arms and a helmet and all jewels and total effulgence. But Vasudeva and Devaki have some Vatsalya Ras, obviously. But there's Vasudeva and Devaki worrying about, especially Devaki worrying about how Kamsa is going to come and kill him. But there he's standing as Narayan. But still she has this maternal worry that Kamsa is going to come. And she says, and it's illogical, but she says, make yourself into a baby. So he does. And then, of course, we know that at that time, Yogamaya covers over the jail keepers. They fall asleep. By Yogamaya's influence, Krishna's Leela Shakti, all the bonds, the what do they call, the chains, shackles, they fall off. And in an attempt to save their child, Vasudeva takes him in his arms as a baby. There's a storm that night. He crosses the Jamuna. Krishna's his lotus feet touched the water of the Jamuna, therefore it's considered to be even more purifying than the Ganga. And then went to Gokula and apparently exchanged the baby. That's one version. He took the baby and exchanged it for the girl that had been born to Yashoda. But what actually happened was there were twins. Yashoda gave birth to a boy and a girl. And when Vasudeva took baby Krishna there, Vasudeva Krishna merged into Krishna, who was really born from Nanya and Yashoda. It was like a real human birth. Of course, Kunti says, Maya Javani Kachanam Agnad Hoksajamavyam Nalakshase Mudadrisha Nato Natya Daroyata. It's all a big play. And as being pointed out here, Krishna's already here. It does not like he has to descend or appear. He just does so magically. But for the Bhoma Vrindavan Leela, Krishna's really born. It's like he's a real human child. So he can be suckled by his mother. There's no helmet. There's no forearms. He's just a little helpless baby. This is pure Vatsalya Ras in Vrindavan. So Vasudeva Krishna is already part of Krishna because all expansions come from Krishna. He's the source of all expansions. So Vasudeva then merges back into Krishna, Bhagavan. And then Vasudeva picks up the girl and brings back. And of course, Kamsa tries to kill her. And she says, "Aha, you fool, I'm Durga." And then he gets a lot of respect for his sister because he's a worshiper of Durga. Said, "How'd you give birth to Durga?" All these are going on by Krishna's internal potency, manifesting in various ways. We see throughout his pastimes, Narada, for instance, Narada Muni goes to Dwarka and he wants to see how Krishna is maintaining his 16,108 wives. What to speak of palaces? Now you built this temple, you know how much it takes to maintain it, right? And so now there's 16,108 palaces. Good luck with that. But Krishna perfectly maintains everything by his perfect energies. What's more, when Narada goes there to Dwarka, he sees in the first house, before he can even approach the door, Krishna comes out and greets him, offers obeisances, brings him inside, washes his feet, worships him with puja. And then he goes to the next house, and Krishna comes out like it's the first time he ever saw him. And Narada's like, noticing that in every place, Krishna's doing something different. One place he's playing chess, another place he's making some strategy with Uddhava. Sometimes he's playing with his children. And Narada, amazed at this, just wonders at the great opulence of the Lord, who every day walks out of his 16,108 palaces, and each one of the residents of the palaces and anyone in the vicinity see him as the one Krishna in that one palace, and he comes out, and on his way to the Siddharma assembly house, all the Krishnas come back into one Krishna, and then he enters within the Siddharma. What's more, we notice that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself at Ratha Yatra, he devises these, 7 kirtan parties, and organizes them, and then when the Ratha Yatra starts, several devotees, including Prataparuja and some others, can see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually dancing in all the kirtan parties. So this is not a big deal for Krishna because he's already everywhere. He's already within every atom. And what can we take from this? We could understand that Ejati Tannaijati, although the Lord seems to be far away, is very near as well. And he's fully responsive to us at every moment. There's a way in which, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna emphasizes this. He said, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridayashara junatishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rujani maya. That I'm with you. You can remember that. And I'm with you all the time. And once when I was living in the New York Temple, 340 West 55th, between 8th and 9th in New York City, and the Sankirtan, because of some, I forget, it was a holiday or something, was slowing down in New York, and my Sankirtan leader, Ramapad Maharaj, I think he was Ramapad Das Brahmachari at that time, said to me, "But you should go on traveling Sankirtan." I said, "Who am I going with?" And he said, "Just by yourself." I said, "Really? I thought we were supposed to always go with somebody." And he said, "Just remember, Prabhupada said, you're never alone. Krishna's always in your heart." And it was the best 2 weeks of my life, driving out in a van they gave me from the temple that had no heat, I found out halfway down the turnpike. But Krishna arranged for everything. And those who take to Krishna consciousness, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. I have a very intimate relationship with every one of you, he said. I'm in your heart. And if you want to know me, if you sincerely inquire, I'll give you full intelligence how you can come to me. I'll illuminate your heart. Esham evanukam partam hama jnana jantamaha nasham yatma bhabasto jnana dipena bhashvata. I'll light up a lamp in your heart, he said, and I'll destroy the ignorance, the darkness for you. So we could understand from this pastime of Krishna's appearance, this Janmashtami pastime, when he comes, that he's demonstratively showing himself to the world. Anugrahaya bhaktanam, anusham dehamastita. He specifically comes and shows that I'm here and I'm fully available to every one of you. And that if you sincerely take to the process of devotional service, you can come to know me. Om Tat Sat. Now we'll take a few reflections or questions because we just have a few minutes left. Yes, Sharanagata.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, what a wonderful class. Thank you so much. So there is written in the purport that like how Krishna merges with Devaki's son Krishna, merges into the Yashoda's son Krishna. And we know that this merging is different from what impersonalist they aim for the merging. And also that like after the annihilation, all the jivas merges into the Mahavishnu. So can you please just little bit let us know that what is the difference exactly, like how Krishna merges into that Krishna versus we jivas merging after annihilation to Mahavishnu, and then impersonalist aiming for the merging into the Brahman.
Krishna is Bhagavan. Ete chamsa kalapunsam, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. This is the primary verse that the Goswamis, our acharyas, point to in the Srimad Bhagavatam to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of all other manifestations. Departure eva hita shantanama bipeta dipayate vrivata hetu samana dharma yas tadrageva hicha vishnu jaya bipati govindamari purusham tamaham majami. Brahma says there's one original candle and then it lights many other candles. They have the same quality, they're fire, but there's still one original candle. And Krishna is that origin. Even though he expands himself, for instance, as Balaram, we know is his first expansion. Balaram then has, he's Krishna, but he has a different abhiman or mood. His attitude is, I'm a servant of Krishna. And that's what all the different manifestations or expansions of Krishna have, is this mood of, I'm serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Balaram, even as the first expansion of Krishna and non-different from Krishna in the Brahma Vimohana Lila, you'll find near the end of that, where 3/4 of the way through that Lila, Balaram starts to wonder what's going on in Vrindavan, because we all know that when Krishna went for a picnic after slaying Agasura, he's Agadamana. He crushes Aga. And then he goes to have a picnic with his friends, and then the calves wander off, and his friends say, oh, we have to go get our calves. And Krishna, no, you stay, please, take prasadam, I'm going to go get the cows. And he goes off, and when he comes back, he finds that they've been purloined. And Brahma has played a trick by stealing them, so Krishna, stealing them means the cows and the boys. And then Krishna, understanding his Brahma's mischief, expands himself into all the calves and all the boys. And it's not AI expansion, it's perfect, infallible expansion, Om Purnamada Purnamidam style. And then they all go back to Vrindavan, do the boys and the cows, and now the parents of the boys have infinitely more affection for them than they did before. This was Krishna fulfilling the desires of the residents of Vrindavan, because they all wanted to be Krishna's mother and have that intimate touch with him, so he fulfills the desires of all devotees. So this is how he did it. And in Vrindavan, when they all went back, then although they thought they were embracing their sons, they were actually embracing Krishna because they're direct manifestations. And then the calves at a certain age are weaned off the milk of their mother, and they're separated. And then one day, Balaram, after having seen the enhanced affection that all the parents had for the boys, also saw that the cows grazing top of the hill saw their calves below and ran down double-legged, like they were running full speed down the hill as if they were mad. And then they started licking the bodies of their offspring. And Balaram said, something's going on here. And at first he thought it was some Rakshasi magic that was happening there. And then there were 3 layers that Krishna removed one after another until Balaram said, "Oh, Krishna, you're doing this. It's all coming from you." And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this is proof that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he has all these expansions, even Balaram, who's his first expansion, is not clear about what's going on because Krishna controls everything. So he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So although he has many expansions, as far as merging goes, that Krishna is one already. He is a Dvaya Gyan Tattva. There's only one thing anywhere, Krishna. But there's variety within the oneness. So it's not illogical for Vishnu to go back into Krishna because he already comes from Krishna. He's already part of Krishna. That Krishna has unlimited energies. Parasha Shakti Rivadaiva Shriyate Swabhavika Jnana Balakriyacha. And they are categorized in 3 ways. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetra Gyakya Tatapara Avidya Karma Sangyanya Tritiya Shakti Rishite. The Vishnu Purana says God is one, but he has a variety of energies categorized in three main categories. One is his internal potency. Within his internal potency, there's the Vishnu Tattva, and then there's the manifestations of all his internal Shaktis in the spiritual world. And then there's, which includes Ladini, Sandini, Samvit Shaktis. Then externally, he manifests the material world, which is his inferior energy, as Prabhupada had mentioned here. He gave Mumir Apolovai and says, Binna Prakriti, it's separated energy, separated by consciousness. And then there's a third energy. Anybody want to guess what it is? Huh? All of us. Little marginal energies, which is for Krishna's pleasure. He manifests himself unlimitedly. Eko Bahusham. He's one, but he expands himself unlimited. He's one, but Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Hladini Shaktira Ekatmana Apipuvi Pura Beda Beda Katau Tau. Beda Beda. He's one, but he divides himself. Why? For his own bliss. And so those expansions coming back together again, they're already together. It's just an idea that they're merging back into one, but it's all Krishna anyway. And it's just a matter of how they're positioned. As far as the living entities entering within the body of Mahavishnu, there's 3 states of consciousness for the living entity in the material world. There's awakened consciousness, and then there's dreaming, and then there's susupti, which means sleeping without dreaming. And that's what the state of consciousness is of living beings when they merge into Mahavishnu. As Prabhupada quotes here, Yashaika Nishasitakalamatava Lambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jaganandanata Vishnur Mahan Saya Yasakala Vishesha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. When Mahavishnu exhales, then everything becomes manifest within the time of his exhalation. How long? 311 trillion years. That's his exhalation. And then when he inhales, then it all gets wound up back in his body, and that includes all the individual souls who are always individual. They're parts and parcels of Krishna. They remain individuals, and they're eternal. But when they go back into the body of Mahavishnu, they're in a suspended state, and susupti. It's sleeping without dreams, and it's not that they're unconscious, it's just that they're conscious of nothing. And then, when they're manifest again, Asav gunamayar bhavir bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi swad nirmiteshu nirvishto punkte bhuteshu tad gunan. Bhagavatam says, as soon as the souls re-enter the world after being within Mahavishnu, Asao gunamayar bhavir bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi. Sukshma means very subtle. Super souls already there to remind them what their previous desires were for the material world, so they can just take it up again, and they get reintroduced to the material energy, and they take up where they left off before. But they're always individuals, even though they're in different states of consciousness. And then Krishna reminds them, you wanted to start a franchise for Ace Hardware, better get to it. Any other question? We have 4.5 minutes left.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. On this point of Vasudeva Krishna merging into Brajanananda Krishna in Vrindavan, I find it interesting because the Gopas or the Gopis are the highest transcendentalists are recognized, and that would mean that, like the way the Gita says, the more we know about him, we can get to him, right? By understanding his activities, we can be with Krishna. But when there is a slaying of a demon or a wonderful act, it's like they don't recognize Krishna, right? The Brajvasis don't they're wondering who is this? Is this some demigod? And it seems a little paradoxical. Like, if they're the highest transcendentalists, wouldn't they know everything in all of his activities? How are they bewildered by this person not being Krishna?
It's the nature of love that one forgets about the details of one's life. For instance, if someone becomes president of the United States and then goes home, that person's mother, come on, sit down, eat, you're going to starve. They have a different relationship with their son than everybody else in the world. It's like, oh, you're the president, and hail to the chief, and all that stuff. But mother's love suppresses all that opulence. In fact, you hear from some kids who attain high positions, and sometimes the parents, they're not even aware of what those positions are. For instance, somebody maybe comes from a small village and then goes home and says, yeah, I'm the president of MIT. It's like, that's nice. Whatever that is, we don't care. Just help us clear the field now, you know. And this is a kind of divine ignorance. It's a suppression of, Krishna suppresses his opulence so that his devotees can just love him as he is. Because Goloka Vrindavan is Krishna at home. He doesn't want to be interrupted with all these reverent prayers. He just wants to have love there and be himself, and walk barefoot. No shoes, just play his flute. And once somebody asked Prabhupada, why does Krishna play a flute? He said, because he's all play and no work. And that's Goloka. You see in the pastime of Yashoda, who then gets this complaint from all the kids, and it's substantiated by Balaram. Krishna ate dirt. Krishna, get over here. They're all saying it. Even Balaram verified you ate dirt. They're lying, Krishna says. All right, then I'm going to prove. You sit down here. She's looking for some forensic evidence. There's some dirt in his mouth. So I said, sit down, let's look. And then Krishna manifests his opulence suddenly. And she looks in and sees all the universes. She sees herself with Krishna sitting on her lap, unlimitedly expanded. And her mind is blown. But then Krishna suppresses that opulence. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, so her maternal love. And anyway, Krishna, just don't do it again. And by the way, get home on time tonight. So that opulence, that knowledge is suppressed. And even the Leela Shakti suppresses it in Krishna. You'll find in various pastimes where, like, how did this happen? Everyone say, even Kunti, I mentioned before, she says, Vidambanam, this is bewildering, how you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Mother Yashoda chased after you and you started crying. You were afraid. What is this? And when Shalva, in combat with Krishna, brings Vasudeva, of an illusory Vasudeva, it's sorcery, but he says, I'm going to cut off his head. And he cuts off his head. For a moment, Krishna is bereaved like an ordinary person. And the acharyas say, oh, what is this? It's Krishna enjoying his human-like pastimes. And so all of that opulence gets suppressed. And the knowledge aspect, it only brings us to a certain level. So after that, as Radhika Raman Prabhu was explaining once in one of his talks about understanding Krishna, all of the epistemology and the logic we have to understand God. Once you come to the ocean that is Krishna, and then you say, I don't get it. Brahma says the same thing. He's the smartest person in the universe. He knows all the verses, every one of them. And then after he has that encounter with Krishna, the Brahma Vimohana Lila, Krishna bewilders his mind, shows him how small he is. He says, Jnane prayasa murapasya namanta eva jivanti sadmukaritam bhavadiya bhartam stane stita ashruti katam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jitat diso. Can I make it before the conch? Jnane prayasa murapasya namanta eva jivanti sadmukaritam bhavadiya bhartam stane stita ashruti katam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jitadito pyasi taishtrilokam. You'll have to look up the verse. That's my answer. Thank you very much, everyone. Vanchakalptarishcha kripasindave vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnavidiki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki jai, Shri Shri Gornitai ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Go Premanande.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. And it's really enlightening to all of us. Now the rest of the program in 15 minutes will be Prashadam. I think then 11 o'clock we'll have the book distribution seminar, and then I think after that we'll go out for book distribution.